It's the Randy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker, great to have you with us. And let's see, we're going to keep you up to date on the Ryder Cup choices here, and we'll get about a minute into this, and we'll have this show. Other things are going to happen, and this show will not be done within a minute, like the Cardinal game was pretty much last night.
About 8 pitches. You got about 8 pitches last night before everything blew up for Andre Pallante. That's when the first run was plated, and then they would play 3 more before the first out. And technically, I guess they played the 5th one alongside the first out of the game.
And I wonder now if, and we'll see how everything plays out. I can't imagine, well, they can't really take Pallante out of the rotation. They could do a piggyback situation maybe and have him in the bullpen. But in his major league career, Pallante has been more effective as a relief pitcher than a starting pitcher. Now, you think of him with what he did early in the season. I kind of thought he was a lock for the 26 rotation. I don't know what else the Cardinals are going to do. I think right at the moment, Matthew, I think he's still got to be a lock for the 26 rotation simply because Marmol and Chaim Bloom at the moment don't have any alternatives.
Yeah, unless they're planning to sign, 3 pitchers, I guess, in the offseason. It just doesn't look like they're going to completely kick it out. Bub says, Randy, what do we do with Pallante next season?
Well, you could put him in the bullpen. So you could put Leahy in the rotation, and you could possibly have Quinn Mathews in your rotation, but you don't have an awful lot of choices right now within the organization. So if you're going to keep Pallante out of the rotation, and Ali referenced last night that he just doesn't have enough swing and miss to be able to pitch the way he pitches, but McGreevy's doing it. McGreevy's not a big-time swing and miss, 10 strikeouts a game guy, and he's succeeding. It seems like they want to change the approach of Pallante. Maybe that's what needs to happen. But I think that next year, at the very least, he goes to spring training as a guy that is competing for a rotation spot. I don't think they start spring training next year with the thought that Pallante is going to be a relief pitcher.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And as we're talking about this, let's just throw up the numbers here right there on the screen for you. 24 as a starter, 20 starts. The Cardinals went 10-10 in those starts. He put up a 3.56 ERA. The first half of 2025, he had 16 starts. The Cardinals went 9-7 in those games. He put up a 4.43 ERA. Still pretty good. In those 16 starts, he had 0 with 5 earned runs or more. We had 1 game. One game with 5 earned runs or more. It was the 7-inning blow up against the Kansas City Royals. In the second half of 2025, across his last 10 starts, the Cardinals have gone 1-9, and he has posted a 7.14 ERA. And I think there's 6 out of 10 starts where he's allowed 5 or more earned runs. The one thing I will point out, that 7.14 ERA in these 10 starts on the second half of 2025, his FIP, his fielding independent, is a 4.75, which tells me that the Cardinals' defensive fallout has mostly hurt, or more so than anybody else, Andre Pallante here in the second half. So because it's telling you essentially the same balls are being put into play that were being put into play in the first 16 starts when he had a 4.43 ERA and like a 4.5 FIP. But the Cardinals aren't turning those into outs at the same level they were in the first half of the season. That's why when we talk about the starting pitching next year, we always mention the defense.
No doubt. And the Cardinals aren't all of a sudden going to come up with 5 strikeout pitchers.
Yeah.
They're going to need great defense because the majority of their starting pitching, you've got Sonny Gray who strikes out his fair share. But then after that, Liberatore is never going to be a big strikeout guy, I don't think. McGreevy is going to be probably where he is now. 7 strikeouts a game would be fine with a guy like that. And then Pallante, Leahy could be a strikeout starter for you. But it's not like the Cardinals are going to have an overwhelming 2005 Chicago White Sox type staff. They're going to have a staff that is, for the most part, pitch to contact, because that's what they have until they start graduating some of these guys like Mathews to the major leagues. And it doesn't help them at all that Roby and Jerpy and Robertson and that whole gang all had Tommy John surgery, and those were all swing and miss guys, but they aren't going to be around next year.
Yeah, it's completely hurt them. And see, I just don't get comments like we get from Bill Downing who says, I don't want him in the bullpen. And see, that just throws me off, because prior to being moved into the starting rotation in May of last year, he had given the Cardinals 109 games across essentially 2 seasons. He was 10-6 in those games with a 3.78 ERA and a 1.472 WHIP.
The thing is,
It's
Bill,
fine.
it'd be nice to have an all-star with your number 1 spot and your number 26 spot and everything in between. It'd be nice to have an all-star team, but that's just not realistic for any franchise. Even the Dodgers aren't going to have 26 all-stars. You've got to have bullpen pitchers that aren't as good as your starters. You got to have middle inning guys or early low leverage guys that aren't going to be your closer. You can't have, it's just not feasible economically or realistically to have every single player be an all-star quality player. You need people like Andre Pallante on your team.
He's a good 4th or 5th starter.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he'll be. Is he going to be a front of the rotation? Is he going to be Max Scherzer? No, but he's worth having on your team. By the way, the Dodgers doing their best to try, but everybody got hurt. You go out and sign 3 relief pitchers, 3 high leverage relief pitchers, and they all get hurt. So you still have a bullpen that really isn't what I think we thought the Dodgers were going to be. Now, once we get to the end of the regular season and those guys get healthy, could be a different story.
Bill, my guy, you're not, bullpen reliever should have an ERA below 3.
Yes.
You have an unrealistic view of how this game works, in my opinion, right now. The Milwaukee Brewers are the best team in baseball, correct? Am I right about that one?
Yep.
They have a relief pitcher who's appeared in 61 games this year with a 3.5 ERA. Jared Koenig, been fine for them. They have DL Hall's pitched in 20 games for them, including as a spot starter for them, 3.35 ERA. He's a fine pitcher for them. Yeah, he's not blowing out the doors, but just to say that you can't, if a reliever has more than a 3 ERA, he's a crappy player. He's a waste of a spot, and you need to get him off the team. You're not playing basketball on a court, my guy. You are in space and in fairyland with these kind of things.
The Dodgers,
you're going to have relievers with bigger than a 3 ERA.
The Dodgers reliever that's pitched in the most games this year is Anthony Banda. 61 games, 3.36 earned run average. Tanner Scott, who's getting big money, has pitched in 49 games, has a 3.97. Kirby Yates, he's pitched in 40 games, another big money guy, has a 4.18. Our old buddy Luis Garcia has a 5.27 for the Dodgers. Lou Trevino is down there with a 3.76. So I think if you look around and if you don't micro the Cardinals, if you macro baseball, I think you'll see that very rarely does a franchise have what the Padres have this year, and that is a group of relievers that are incredible and are having great years. But how often do you keep the same bullpen together? Not very often.
Let's turn to over/under 2.5 starts made for Curtis Taylor in September. I got into this last night with Ethan Hannaford because people were saying, why aren't they bringing up the arms from Memphis? And so what I did is I put up on the screen the current list of starter like games started by Memphis and where their ERA is. And you guys can do yourselves the research. There's no one out right now on Memphis that you really want. The people you want are all hurt or are ramping up like Quinn Mathews. Curtis Taylor is like the one guy. But is he
the 36-year-old guy?
No, that's
Peter.
No, Veneziano's older. Welkenmeyer. Curtis Taylor is 30 years old.
Okay.
By the way, and has pitched in Major League Baseball. Has he made a Major League debut? I don't believe Curtis Taylor has made his Major League debut as a 30-year-old. And
let's build a holy trinity.
So that's like right now the guy with the most starts in a sub-3, like a sub-4 ERA. The only one in Memphis right now is Curtis Taylor. That's what you're beating down the doors for. Not to Bub's point, like not like maybe we got to figure out what Pallante is. No. Instead of figuring out what Pallante is, you need to get Curtis Taylor 2.5 starts. That's nonsensical. They're like you're literally throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing what sticks because you're pissed off about your favorite team losing. I get it, but the cope is not a 30-year-old who's never made his Major League debut getting a couple starts in September. That's not where the cope is.
By the way, is the 36-year-old guy.
What did I say? I said something along those lines.
A-Dub is He's 5-3 with a 3.94. So maybe you do need to bring up. He's got looks like great lettuce too, great hair.
Great hair. But again, I mean, that's I was fine with bringing him up. I'm fine with bringing those guys up as a way to tell me that, as a way to say that, hey, Pallante and Liberatore, we don't want you guys to exacerbate this issue. We don't want you to hurt your arms trying to figure out your issues here. So we're going to give you guys some days off. That's fine. That's what you should be using these guys for. But people are clamoring for Curtis Taylor because they're tired of seeing Andre Pallante. And that's a road to nowhere, my friends. Like there's no point to that. You're just going to pitch yourself off because when Andre Pallante's pitching either 30 starts or 60 games out of the bullpen for the Cardinals next year, you're going to be throwing your hands up. I'd rather Andre Pallante learn how to be a better major league pitcher across the rest of September.
I think the play for the Cardinals, and I think one of the things that we need to keep in mind, and by the way, Katie Wu has a her second mailbag at The Athletic. I think we need to remember what the Cardinals are and where the Cardinals are and where the Cardinals are going. Katie at The Athletic, in her second mailbag, one of the questions was when the Cardinals will be competitive again. And she said, or wrote, it's far too early to put a timeline on when the Cardinals will be competitive again, though we know the club will likely take a step back next year. She also wrote, the Cardinals aren't expecting to be competitive next year. Bloom and ownership want to emphasize player development, an area Marmol is well experienced in after spending 16 years coaching in the Cardinals minor league system before making his way to the big league staff in 2017. Goes on to write about the job that he has done. But to me, the key phrase there is the first one. The Cardinals aren't expecting to be competitive next year. So the Cardinals aren't going to go out and sign a bullpen and get a bunch of guys like Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates for next year. They're going to bring in a Blake Trinan. The Cardinals are, with the pitching staff next year, going to do what they've tried to do with the position players this year. They're going to try to find out more about their young pitchers, specifically the guys we haven't seen, the Mathews of the world, the Ian Bedells of the world, if he gets healthy, hopefully the Doyles of the world. I really do think, and maybe Leahy as a starter, I agree with Katie. I don't think the Cardinals have an expectation of competing for a 95 win season in 2026. Then everything is open in 27 because we just don't know if there's going to be a 2027.
That certainly would be a risky way to play it, but certainly these kind of quotes aren't going to get anybody excited for 2026.
No.
But there's got to be ways, though, to get people excited without coming out and saying you expect to be a playoff team.
Yeah,
and that was the point I was making last night with Ethan. I still don't see the logic. I see some of the logic, but I see so many more positives to bring up JJ Weatherholt. Mm-hmm. And again, it's not you're not going to sell a lot of tickets, but it's about sending messages. And if fans can take a huge gleam from what the future of this club can be from Bill DeWitt III chuckling at a question, then why can't you maybe repair some of that by making another optics move and bringing up JJ Weatherholt and saying, here's the future, Vladimir Tarasenko, impression, come glow with us. Like, I'm not saying it's going to replace everything. I'm not saying it's how you get back from the mosaic, but it wouldn't hurt. That's for damn sure.
You've got a third baseman that's got an 860 OPS since the All-Star break. You've got a second baseman that was an All-Star. If you're going to have Weatherholt and you've got a shortstop that's the best defensive player in baseball. So is your play to either move Weatherholt to the outfield, or is it to play him at second and Donovan in left? What's the play?
I have no idea what the play is. And the problem is that play is still backed up by what I threw out to you and Ethan yesterday, or you and Brendan yesterday, which is the you still have the giant block that is the Arenado thing, which, like, even if you ignore that, you still have an issue where, again, Gorman has shown who he is. His walk rate over the last month or two is insane. It's one of the highest in baseball.
Top 10% over the season. In all of baseball.
He has figured out his approach to the plate. Now, if he can start dialing in the power again and finding that balance, then Nolan Gorman is what you thought he was going to be. And you need that power. We've talked about that a lot as well. So, to your point, you have to have Gorman. Are you just going to let Donovan walk away? And then you need a spot for JJ Weatherholt. One thing I got to last night was, and we've had a lot of people throw out, this isn't a new thing we're throwing out, of packaging Donovan to get rid of the Arenado contract. And here's my thought process. I guess pissing off Donovan in arbitration this fall could save you a lot of money in the grand scheme of things. You save $5 million on his contract, and you save $40 million on Nolan Arenado.
But who's
going to do that?
Yeah, what team is going to take Arenado?
The Dodgers are the only one because they get Brendan Donovan.
But then, so they've got Hae-Sung Kim.
Yep.
They've got Tommy Edman.
Yep.
They've got Max Muncy under contract for another year.
Yeah.
So why are you getting Brendan Donovan?
Because they're the only ones that can afford this trade.
Oh,
Randy.
Okay.
Because I can't find anybody else I can't find any other team that would take $40 million in dead money just to get an all-star second baseman. I don't think there's a lot of teams that are willing to take that, especially in the year before a lockout potentially hits. Yeah. If this was 2019, we're playing with fun money. Yeah, there's probably 4 or 5 teams. I could probably get that deal done with maybe the Astros, maybe the Padres, because their owner is still alive and spending all the money before he kicks it. The Mets, probably they haven't pulled back their spending at that point. I got 4 or 5 teams that could probably take $40 million if they get a second baseman.
He's got a no trade. He's not going to go play for them.
And that's true. He's not going to go play for those teams.
Yeah. We did get a question about whether or not Leahy has been a starter. Leahy started 72 games at the minor league level for the Cardinals. So, yeah, he has experience down there. And the Cardinals would need to rebuild what he was as a starter. But if you go back, let's see, he started 15 games in 2017 for that was in college. So let's go to minor league baseball. Johnson City started 10. Waterloo, he started 5. He started 16 at Peoria in 2019. Started 25 for Springfield in 2021. So, yeah, 28 for a couple of teams combined in 2022.
I can't imagine taking shots at a professional baseball player's confidence when he's going against the best players in the world, and you won't even put your name on your YouTube channel. It's a weird strategy, King's Echo.
Who's that?
But he said Pallante should be selling hot dogs and cotton candy in the stands. Looks like a frightened child. Zero confidence. Your ability to read people's confidence through a TV screen is impeccable. Get with the FBI. They could use that kind of skill.
Yeah. And there's no doubt that he's scuffling. And the Cardinals, Ollie talked about it last night. They're going to talk about what the next step is with Pallante. But Pallante, and it might be an advantage for him, might wind up being a disadvantage if he has to start more. But the fact of the matter is that the Cardinals don't have anybody to replace him right now. Now, Leahy might eventually be that guy, but the way I look at it right now is I don't want to break Quinn Mathews by bringing him up in a losing season that I can just replace Pallante because I'm tired of him. I think you got Leahy as a chance, or else it doesn't do any good for the Cardinals to call up the 30 and 36-year-olds. That it doesn't do any good for their future. At least Andre Pallante is young enough so that if he can build up, and the Cardinals do have a new director of performance this year, and hopefully he'll have an effect on these young starters who seem to have hit a wall in August. Liberatore too, and hopefully those guys won't hit a wall next year. And that will be due to the Cardinals preparing them to pitch a full season, because it doesn't look right now like they're prepared to pitch a full season. But as you noted, last year, Andre Pallante was the Cardinals' best starter. And in the first half of this year, Andre Pallante was fine, but his abilities, his numbers certainly have diminished in the second half of the season.
We're getting a chat here on the screen from Pudge Richardson. I believe they brought up Waino and Alex Reyes after they struggled a bit in AAA to learn at the MLB level. I'd be more interested in doing that with Quinn Mathews than bringing up Curtis Taylor.
I would too.
The issue with that comparison is that when they brought up Adam Wainwright at the end of the 2005 season, yeah, he had a 4.44 ERA at AAA, but that was across 29 starts. Yeah, it was across 29 starts. The issue with Quinn Mathews, and he had 5.37 the year before that at Memphis in 12 starts. The issue with Quinn Mathews isn't necessarily the ERA. And by the way, in those 26 starts or 29 starts, Adam Wainwright pitched 182 innings. The issue with just over 6 per game. The issue with Quinn Mathews is that he's going 4 2/3. He's going 3 2/3. He's barely getting through 5 innings. And while he's striking out 7, and the ERA is round of 4, it's the issue is the innings count. So Wainwright was getting through full major league games consistently at AAA. With the injury and starting to ramp things back up, Quinn Mathews isn't doing that. I wouldn't care if Quinn Mathews had a 5.0 ERA in Memphis in August. I do have to care that he's averaging less than 5 innings per outing.
Yeah, that's a concern. And I don't know. And the Cardinals really haven't answered my question about whether or not his shoulder issues earlier in the season are having an effect. It's pretty much, no, we want him to deal with this. The term that was used with me was, hey, it's not a bad thing to have him bleed a little bit in the minors before he makes it to the majors and has to deal with everything that's going on at the major league level. He's a 4th round pick, and he apparently is still learning how to pitch at the age of 25. And hey, that's just something that you have to deal with when you have a setup like the Cardinals have. And the Cardinals do not have a great setup. Hopefully it'll get better, but it's not going to be because of free agency. When it gets better, it's going to be because of young players ascending to a level that allows them to perform at the major league, in the major leagues. And it's not going to be because the Cardinals went out and spent a bunch of money or made a bunch of trades for veteran guys. There's nobody more tied in than Katie Wu. And when she says the Cardinals don't expect to be competitive this year, you can take that to the bank.
This is how you do the chat, guys. RDH66, trade Bill DeWitt.
Oh, there you go.
That's how you chat, people. That's
So here's one of the things in baseball.
That's a winner.
You can trade managers. They've been traded before. Chuck Tanner got traded from Oakland to Pittsburgh back in the day. There have been a couple of managers that have been traded. Owners own the team, and so they don't get traded. I know that there are people, but who would trade them, right? Because they're like the big boss. So who would consummate that trade? It's just not something that's realistic to trade the owner of the team, unfortunately. So that's not going to happen. Now, maybe you would. Maybe you'd like to trade Bill DeWitt for Bob Nutting. Maybe you'd like to trade Bill DeWitt for Bob Castellini. Maybe you'd like to trade Bill DeWitt for the Pohlad family. Maybe that's the move that the Cardinals need to make.
When was that ownership trade? There was
Carol Rosenblum.
Yes, when was the ownership
Carol
trade?
Rosenblum and Robert Irsay. Robert Irsay owned the Rams. Carol Rosenblum owned the Colts, and they just traded franchises. Now that could happen. Basically, so what happened was when they traded franchises, Rosenblum moved out to L.A. and Robert Irsay moved from L.A. to Baltimore and took over the Colts. So yeah, I guess that theoretically could happen. I just don't know that there's a franchise that Bill DeWitt would rather own than the St. Louis Cardinals. I think that's the one that he likes the best.
Rod Rogers said, I'd rather they bring up Eshawn Henderson with his 2.44 ERA than Taylor. It is important, of course, to point out that Eshawn Henderson's 2.44 ERA is at AA.
Yeah. Okay. What would the Cardinals need to offer to get Steve Ballmer as their owner? I think he would need to offer money.
Yeah, I think that's how ownership shares usually work. That would be hilarious.
That'd be fun.
That'd be that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Come on, DeWitt is only worth $4 billion, so there's no money left to sign a decent player. Okay. This is from our friend Sound of Silence. I will give you Steve Cohen, okay, who digs into his own pocket to sign players. Give me another owner that's using his personal fortune, digging into his own wallet or bank account to sign players. I would suggest that every other ownership in the NHL, in the NBA, in Major League Baseball, and in pro football is basing what they spend on payroll on the revenues that their team is generating. Now, that's easier when you're in the NFL and you're getting a ton of money through revenue sharing because of your national TV deals. It's a different situation altogether because of the amount of money they make. But let's talk about the not high revenue because of national TV leagues. Give me an example, aside from Steve Cohen, in the National Hockey League or in Major League Baseball, of an owner that is utilizing his own personal fortune to pay players.
I do not have an answer for you off the top of my head, but I didn't pose the question, so I don't feel bad about that.
Okay.
Let's turn to a 30-year-old rookie pitcher is for situations like this. But by the way, if you do have an answer for Randy, please put it in the chat.
Yeah, love
As
it.
always, we love the chat.
Yeah.
This is what a 30-year-old rookie pitcher is for. Eat some innings, a la Fetty sticking as long as he did. Never thought of Taylor as the future. Just help a gas rotation. And here's the thing. By the way, we have some breaking news in the Ryder Cup. We'll get to that in just here in a moment. I agree with what you're saying. Let's turn to. There were a lot of people, though, who are clamoring for Curtis Taylor because they don't want to see Andre Pallante anymore. Your rationale is completely fair, and the Cardinals should do that. If they have determined that pitching Andre Pallante or Mathews Liberatore is not more helpful for them, because there is, I think, one of the beneficial things when you have a young team and you're not a winning team is players learning how to get through bad moments. From a mental side. Now, if the bad moment is because of something physical, because they're fatigued, their arm is tired, you do need to get them out of the rotation for a stretch so that you don't hurt them physically. But there is a point, I think, to learning how to get through moments and rough patches as a professional, that you now can say, Pallante, you're struggling. We're going to work with you. We're going to figure out what you need to do to get through your next start. And if it doesn't work, we're going to keep on working on things. We're going to make you a better pitcher because your numbers do not matter over this month. If the Cardinals determine that, then it would be a waste to bring up a Curtis Taylor or Wilkerson. But if they determine that they need to hold these guys back for their physical long-term health, because even though some people in the chat aren't going to like this, they will be a part of the rotation, especially the top half for Mathews Liberatore, then they definitely should make that move. There's no doubt.
Here is your USA Ryder Cup team for Bethpage Black next month. J.J. Spawn, Ben Griffin makes it, Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Bryson DeChambeau, Russell Henley, and Harris English. Those, aside from Ben Griffin, that was the group that was locked in.
I heard no. I didn't hear the funniest sound in the English language. I heard no sound from that, which means no captain Keegan Bradley.
He's there.
Oh, I thought they said he did not choose himself among the 6 deserving captains.
He's just captain. Okay.
Yes, yeah. Bradley did not choose himself among the captains' picks for the U.S. Ryder Cup. No Keegan captain.
So it's
playing.
Sam Burns, Justin Thomas, Cameron Young, Colin Morikawa, Patrick Cantlay, Harris English, and then Henley, DeChambeau, Schauffele, Scheffler, Griffin, and Spawn. That's your team. I don't think anybody was horribly snubbed there. Do you? I can't think of anybody.
I can't think of anybody on that one. It seems fine. What were your thoughts? Because we mentioned it, but you didn't really dive into what was your thoughts now. I mean, we know it now after the fact, but 20 minutes ago, had we been talking about Keegan Bradley potentially selecting himself, where did you stand on that?
Everybody that has been involved says that the weight of the world is on the captain, because not only is he doing all the media stuff, but he's got to put together the pairings. He's got to communicate with the players. There's a lot for the captain to do. So it would have been my preference that he not choose himself.
I think that makes sense.
Maverick McNeely was 10th in the standings. He's not on the team. Bradley was 11th in the standings. He's not on the team. Brian Harmon was 12th in the standings. He's not on the team. Andrew Novak was 13th. Cameron Young was 14th. Patrick Cantlay was 15th. Sam Burns was 16th, and those three are all on the team. So, and I'm fine with that. I'm glad that Cantlay and Burns made it. I could have gone either way with Cameron Young, but yeah, I like the team.
Eddie Grant here always gets excited. He always sends us some long ones, and I like to get to him anyhow because they're big, but he puts some thought into them, and I appreciate that. The team last night was developed farm system players plus Contreras. World Series caliber teams at established, elite, highly played players that you obtain from free agency or other teams. Bloom actually cut our payroll this year for valid financial reasons. Mo has not been allowed to bring in big dollar outside help, is relegated to obtaining middle of the pack players. Of course, he wanted to go after Machado, Harper, Cole, Lindor, Freeman, and all those, but he was not allowed.
That's true. You do have a budget, and you can't afford some of those players because if your budget calls for $180 million payroll, generally you don't want to give one of the players 25% of that or 20% of that, which is what you would do if you assigned some of those players in free agency. I think the other thing you have to keep in mind here, can we go back to the teams that he talked about? Can we put that back up there for 1 second? Just and just look at the
Eddie Grant.
Yeah, here we go. So Machado, San Diego, Harper, Philadelphia, Cole, New York, Lindor, New York, Freeman, LA, Yamamoto, LA. Those are all destination places now for players, whether it be because of climate or crowds. And the crowds in Philadelphia are spectacular. But the Cardinals are not a destination spot anymore. If everything else was equal and those players had a choice between a Cardinal offer and an offer from Philadelphia or LA or New York, they're taking the Philadelphia or LA or New York offers. They aren't coming to St. Louis. St. Louis used to be a destination place because when La Russa was here, they had a chance to win every year and they drew 40,000. Why were people like Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado enthused about coming to St. Louis? Because there were 40,000 people in the stands every night. Well, that's not the case anymore. The winning is not the case anymore. So from a baseball perspective, there's no real good reason to sign here as a free agent, unless, like Sonny Gray, you want to be home, or you're Contreras and you're in a comfort zone where you've already got your money and you've already got your world championship, or you're Michaelis and you know there's nowhere else to go. These guys around Major League Baseball, those big stars, they've got no reason to come to St. Louis, right?
No, there's no reason for them to. You got to give them reasons, and I'm not really. And the only reason you're really going to get people is the reason you used to get people, which is
money.
Money for a winning club.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to pay me a pretty good salary, but we're also going to be competing. I'm going to be in the playoffs. I'm going to get a chance to put a ring on my finger. And for a lot of good players, that's still a driving factor. That it's not going to mean they're going to take a cheap contract, but they might take a little bit less.
Yeah, if you have a chance to win, and people used to come here, even Goldschmidt came here because the Cardinals were pretty consistently in the playoffs and pretty good. That is just not the case anymore. Hey, we've got golf coming up here to St. Louis. Next weekend? A week from Friday, the Stiefel Charity Classic gets underway, and it's a legendary weekend. The weather is going to be great. The golf is going to be great. The Stiefel Charity Classic, presented by Compliance Solutions, runs September 4th through 7th at historic Norwood Hills Country Club. You can watch PGA Tour champions tee it up and compete. Some of the names at the top of the list last year included Bernhard Langer, Stuart Sink, Y.E. Yang, Justin Leonard, Krista Marco, Darren Clark, and more. And you can enjoy a live performance by the music sensation OAR at Friday's community concert presented by CarShield. Tickets start at just $20. Kids, military, veterans, and first responders get in free. Get your tickets today at StiefelCharityClassic.com. That's StiefelCharityClassic.com. And we will see you at Norwood Hills September 4th through 7th for the Stiefel Charity Classic.
The weather is lining up to be absolutely beautiful. You're going to hear Randy kick things off on September 4th. It's going to be a great time out at Norwood Hills.
Looking forward to it. It should be a lot of fun. All right, let's get back to some more of the chats. And I get that people are upset, and you should be, that the Cardinals are no longer competitive. And it's going to be very difficult. You talked about Bill DeWitt, the third, saying that I just don't understand how people think that a business is going to spend more money when they're making less, which to me seems pretty logical. For a lot of people, they didn't think it was a logical thing to say. Yeah, well, it makes me laugh because it's kind of a dumb statement that any business that's making less would spend more. We want the Cardinals to spend more money, so we're not going to go to games. It just doesn't make sense. I just chuckled.
Oh, no, Randy.
Yeah. So does it make sense to you? Can you think of a business where they say, okay, we are not making as much money, so we're going to spend more?
Well, here's the thing. There was a chatter, and I don't remember, this was from yesterday's chat, and we didn't get to it, but I thought this person just pointed out really well, which is, and why this is hard, because when we talk about this is just a business, remove the sports factor. When you just talk about it as a business, yeah, the Cardinals operate like every other big business. But I think the problem is that we're not the problem, but when we have this conversation with our fans in the chat, a lot of them own small businesses, and a lot of them have personal anecdotes where they had to put in more of their own money because their business wasn't making money. And to improve their business and get customers back in the door, they had to spend money to make money. And so I understand why for those small business owners who are in the chat, and for Cardinals fans all over St. Louis who hear that, they call BS. And I understand that, but that doesn't change the fact of the matter that every large company operates this way, which is they always, it's always a profit farm. They cut anything that makes that costs them money. It's always about the bottom line for shareholders. And the Cardinals have that thought process as a large company. And you might have a problem with that, but that's the reality of the situation. And when it comes to them as being a company, they are fairly successful. And I'm now disagreeing with how they're approaching their business right now, what they're struggling, because I was talking to a Blues season ticket holder last night. We're talking about a 3 or 4% upgrade on their season ticket package. Cardinals are at 9.99% to 15%. So I'm not saying there's not plenty of room for criticism for the Cardinals ownership, but we have to be having these conversations in the reality of where we live and the times we live in and the business situation of how it is. You're right. They're calling themselves a business while getting you to buy stuff because of nostalgia from sports. It's screwy and it's underhanded in my opinion, but everyone's doing it. So what are you expecting?
By the way, and this is just an aside, but the Cardinals employ about 400 St. Louisans, people in the ticket office, people in analytics, people in public relations. They've got about 400 employees. And they were the one franchise during the pandemic in Major League Baseball. And we talked the other day about how they let the 4 coaches go, but they were the one franchise in Major League Baseball, the one that did not lay off any front office employees during the pandemic. Everybody kept working and got their salaries. So they're doing things to benefit your neighbors. They're doing things to benefit downtown. The very first A-level business office space in St. Louis in 30 years, between 88 and 18, there was no A-level business office space built in St. Louis until the Cardinals built Ballpark Village.
That's 30 years.
30 years without any A-level office space being built. And the Cardinals
essentially my entire lifetime. I was born in 91.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, and the Cardinals were the ones that built it. Now you might hate the fact that they did business well and they succeeded with Ballpark Village, at least until this happened. But aside from the Cardinals who are based there in downtown St. Louis, what other company is doing things to try to build up downtown St. Louis with their offices there and trying to get things going? I mean, downtown St. Louis, Channel 4 left. Channel 2 wasn't downtown. KMOX is still downtown, I guess, from a media standpoint. Fleischman, Centene.
Yeah, those are those, and that's all completely fair. And it says a lot of what they do, but at the same time, I will agree with fans who say, we have to see a better product, because you can be a great company in the corporate social responsibility side of things, but if you are a company that's putting out a worse product and asking me to pay the same for it, I'm losing respect for you actively in the moment. And as we move down this timeline a little bit, if you are a very corporately social company, and I respect that, but you're putting out a bad product, and then you ask me to subsidize your product by you taking my tax dollars to renovate your stadium, you better change the conversation, is all I'm saying.
Every single business has to stop taking TIF money, right? Everybody is building a hotel and getting TIF money to...
Or no, I'm just saying, I want them, when they use TIF money, and they need to be bettering the community. And I think when a company says, this is our product, we're not going to increase its quality, but we expect you to pay the same, you're not doing a good job as a company, is my point. So if you're going to get TIF money, I need you to be a responsible company to better your product. And if they're not doing that, I would understand why fans would continually be angry at them. Again, this is down the line. They're going to try to get better. Anyone who thinks they're not trying to get better would be wrong, but they're going to have to show a little bit more if we get to a point in 2 or 3 years when then we're talking about them asking for tax dollars for the stadium and things like that. That's all I'm saying.
And they will get tax dollars for a stadium.
Yes, they definitely will.
That's the way it works. And by the way, they provide a lot of tax money to the city and the state too.
We got a good question here from Terrell Whitener, our related to our good friend Maddie. They call him Science over on the Alou info station. So Science chimes in and says, question: when the DeWitt family was getting 3 million fans a year, did they spend proportionally on the baseball operation?
Yeah, they were always between 9th and 13th in payroll, and that was clear. They went out and they signed Matt Holliday. They gave Pujols the $100 million contract. They signed Scott Rowland for $90 million. They signed Jim Evans for $57 million. They traded for Larry Walker. They and even later on gave Yachty multiple multi-year contracts, gave Waino multiple multi-year contracts, did all that bad spending on people like Dexter Fowler and Mike Leake. Proportionately they did, and especially compared to other franchises in baseball, the percentage of ticket revenue that the Cardinals applied to payroll was top 2 or 3 in the league.
Lex Luthor, the difference between a restaurant and the Cardinals is the Cardinals know there won't be another MLB franchise moving to St. Louis. Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. That difference when sports teams like to tell you they're businesses, and then when sports teams like to tell you that they're sports teams, and that's exactly the point. Is there is kind of a monopolistic idea, which is you're all kind of fighting for the same entertainment dollars, but when you're the only one kind of entertainment in town, it does kind of shift things a little bit.
Well, it certainly doesn't seem to be working to their advantage at the moment, does it?
That's very true. That's a good point.
It's not like people are going.
Yes. Bill Graham, only speculation. I don't think any major league teams have true open books. So we get to see the Braves. Which is very helpful. The one issue there, if you're a Cardinals fan, is that you then kind of have to do a little bit of kind of it's all relative math in your head, because Atlanta's a borderline top 5 city in America, top 5 market in a lot of ways. And so that kind of changes how the financials are playing. Because I mean, they're still raking in money this year, but they also had the All-Star game. So it's like, what part of these financials can you actually port to other MLB cities? I'm not sure.
Yeah. And I just from a national standpoint, we know how much national TV money they're getting, but we do know that every franchise that was dealing with an RSN took a haircut, right? The Cardinals took about a 30% haircut in terms of TV revenue this year because of a renegotiated deal with what is now FanDuel Sports. And the ticket revenue, it's pretty clear. People aren't going to the games, so that's down too. And the TV revenue is the national TV revenue is remaining the same. And my guess would be, Matthew, that the Cardinals are not selling as much merchandise for baseball as they did before either. I guess they're probably not selling as many Victor Scott II jerseys as they sold Jim Edmonds jerseys back in the day. Just a guess.
That's fair. And we got this from JDXZRT. Excuse me. I was rewatching the stream, guys. You could literally bring up any starter from 2A and you'd be getting the same results as starting Pallante. And my thing is that do you really think that a 4.07 ERA at AA is going to transfer to a better ERA at the major league level than what Pallante's been giving you most of the time?
And if you like that pitcher, Tony La Russa always used to say that he didn't want to bring up a young pitcher or player before his time. He says, because you could break him. So if the Cardinals have hopes for a Motts or one of the other AA starters, sometimes you're worried about getting crushed, that pitcher getting crushed at the major league level. What's that going to do to him for the long term?
Bryson Motts has allowed 13 home runs in 22 starts, despite a 3.1 ERA. So the only runs he allows are home runs. But you're telling me you want Bryson Motts with a 3.1 ERA at AA and 13 home runs allowed in 22 starts? That's the guy you want to sacrifice on the altar of let's just see if he's got a chance, so that he can get one domed 500 yards by Kyle Schwarber where he puts it in another previously unreachable part of the stadium, and then he has to watch that for the rest of his life. Yeah, that won't affect him.
This is interesting from Infringement St. Louis cover band. I went to the game on Monday, and it was truly sad to see the stadium so empty. Sad times.
You know what? That's you share a thought process with a much loved man in St. Louis, because our guy Joe Buck put out a tweet yesterday that got a lot of response from people. It was during the game yesterday. In fact, that's how he opened up the tweet. During the game in STL last night, wow, welcome back to the 70s. This is what it used to look like there. I was there, pre-Whitey, buying shag carpet ASAP. A major rebuild of roster and trust better be coming. One can only hope. It's coming, right? Buena suerte, Chaim. Rooting for you.
I think the difference is that in the 1970s, the Cardinals Cardinal Nation wasn't a thing yet. Cardinals had never drawn 3 million fans. 15,000 a game was the norm. it had been, even in the 60s, when the Cardinals were really good, they didn't draw 3 million fans and they didn't draw 40,000 a night. So I think obviously you compare what the stadium looks like to the 70s and say, yeah, that's the case. But if you compare circumstances, they're completely different, because Cardinal Nation was a thing. And I kind of think Cardinal Nation is dead now. I think the 3 million fans a year, right? Because of two things. So you had a group of people my age and older that were buying season tickets and coming to games. Those people are either not going, a lot of them are afraid to go downtown, or they're dying off. And then you have the group behind us. How often do you want to spend 4.5 hours? And you are 30, how old? 34. And so your generation and younger than you, how often do you want to spend 4.5 hours to get in your car, drive down to the ballpark, buy parking, go to the game, watch the game, and then drive home? How often do you want to spend 4.5 hours doing that?
Not very often.
And and I had friends that went to every single one of the 81 home games. And that's just not going to happen anymore. So I think the days of 3 million fans in St. Louis and this market size are probably done.
It's not salvageable, in your opinion. Now the big thing to talk about there is that this isn't just St. Louis thing. We've talked about the Rockies having good numbers, but baseball overall is going to fall short of 30 million fans across all stadiums, I believe, for the first time in, I'm blanking on how many years it was. An article just hit the other day, but I mean, they're not going to hit 30 million fans across all of baseball for the first time in a long time. Attendance is down across the sport.
Yeah. And I think in the big markets, you're going to draw fans because there's going to be a percentage of the people in a market that our fans are going to make their way down to the ballpark, but I don't think that's going to happen. I want to go back to what I said earlier about attendance back in the day. So the Cardinals win the World Series in 1964. 1965, they averaged 15,323 a game. In 1967, the Cardinals won the World Series. The next year, they averaged 24,829 a game. 1968, they went to the World Series. The next year, they averaged 21,000 a game. Their numbers during the 70s, averaging 20,000 a game, 19,000, 15,000, 19,000, 22,000, 20,000, 14,076, about 20,000 in 77, 15,000 in 78. This is average per game, 19,845 in 1979, and then 17,000 in 1980. 81, there was a strike. In 82, when the Cardinals won the World Series, they averaged 26,000 a game. They averaged an all-time high 28,000 a game in 83, the year after they had won the World Series, then dipped back in 84 to 25,000 a game. And then it really started going in 85 when they averaged 32,000 a game. And that was a total of 2.6 million. Whitey had a bonus, by the way, for every ticket sold over a million, I think. And then they hit 3 million for the first time in 1987. So you went essentially, Matthew, from averaging 17,000 a game in 1980, which was par for the course, to 1987, drawing 3 million and 37,000 a game. So that's why I'm saying that the circumstances are different, because when we were going to games, when Joe Buck was there in the 70s, when I was there in the 70s, we had never witnessed what the market was capable of. And my point in saying that Cardinal Nation is dead is that I don't think, well, I'm not saying it's not capable of it. I don't think the desire is there for Cardinal Nation to show up in those kinds of numbers anymore. Do you agree?
I think that's fair. And again, just looking at baseball overall, the 30 million number was stuck in my head was an MILB article. So essentially Major League Baseball peaked at about 70 million total fans, right around like that. That was what it was pre-COVID in 2019. That's what it was in 2023, was around 70 million fans. Right now, last year in 2024, they were right around 71 as well. This year, and obviously there's still some time left to go, it's going to be less than that, because last year the average attendance per game in Major League Baseball was 29,374 across every game, and this year it's down not by much, but it is down to 29,300. So I mean, it is dropping a little bit. When you look at the year by year differences across Major League Baseball, it's about half of the leagues that have seen a decrease in this season in baseball. But I mean, Blue Jays, Guardians, Mariners, Astros, Rockies have actually seen less year-over-year difference, but the Cardinals easily the largest year-over-year difference with almost 500,000 fans. The second largest loss in fans this year is the Tampa Bay Rays. Now they're playing in a minor league stadium after playing in a major league stadium last year, and the Cardinals are doing even worse than they are.
Yeah, not great
when it comes to fan drop-off.
Ralph Longo. So what do we do when we don't want to watch a regularly losing team that seems to be a regular thing? I would say that you need to make your own decisions about that. If you believe it's a waste of money, then you have that attitude and you can take it. If you think that getting out for a night on the town includes a baseball game where you might see something you've never seen before, then you take that approach. But clearly, en masse, Cardinal fans are taking the approach of, you know what, I'm not going to bother with this. I would rather watch on TV, or I'd rather watch something else on TV. I really don't think that there are other places. I don't think that the movie theaters are thriving in St. Louis, right? So it's just a matter of you making that decision for what you want to do. And I'm somebody, and Chip Carey and I have had this conversation before. I like watching young teams grow up, and I like seeing a guy like Gorman get better. I like seeing a guy like Pajes get better. I like seeing a guy like Donovan and win. I like seeing young players play. And then I feel like I have a little bit of an investment when they start to win. Okay, I have invested in these guys, and now I'm being rewarded. I know there's a lot of people that only want to go when the team is highly competitive and has a great chance to win. And I get that, because for a lot of people, the only entertainment they get out of sports is if the team wins. I can be entertained by other things. I can be entertained by the journey. And we all have different approaches to sports. And I can be entertained by watching Nolan Gorman hit a ball 500 feet and get better over the course of time. A lot of you don't want to, as Bill Parcells would say, don't tell me about the labor, just show me the baby. And I get that attitude too.
Redcon 1, I want to know how many first inning runs they're allowing thus far in 25. I bet we lead the pack. Couldn't find the stat searching last night. So I don't have the Cardinals compared to the rest of Major League Baseball. I do right now have in front of me, though, that the Cardinals' worst pitching is undoubtedly in the first inning. OPS allowed, it's the only one over 800, and it's an 857 OPS allowed in the first inning. The batting average allowed, it's the only one over 280, and it's a 291. The on-base percentage, it's the only one over 330, and it's 344. And the only inning they allow a team to slug higher than 465 is the first inning, when teams are slugging 513 against the St. Louis Cardinals. Batters are 34% better in the first inning than they are the rest of the game against the Cardinals.
That is not good.
That's flipping terrible. And here's the thing, Redcon, I haven't got the full league average. I imagine there's not a worse team in the league at pitching in the first inning than the Cardinals. That's pretty much that's god awful. And honestly, for a lot of fans, I can imagine why you'd tap out of games early if that's the case.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hey, the Cardinals do play the Pirates tonight, and even if you aren't going to be there, you can still have some fun by checking the game out and following it with a little bit on the line because of DraftKings Pick 6, where the crown is yours. All you need to do is download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's really easy. Just pick more or less on the stats for two or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And it can be a lot of fun. And you don't have to necessarily go with the Cardinal game. Like Shohei Ohtani tonight is over under for a home run, 0.5 against Cincinnati and Lodolo. I'm not even going to go there because, well, you know what? Are they playing at Cincy? Should we do this? Oh, no, it's at home.
Great American Small Park?
Yeah. If it was at Cincinnati, I might do it, but I'm not going to do it. So we just, all you need to do is find a couple of your over-unders and then use that promo code STL Sports and get an incredible deal. $25 in bonus picks with your first deposit of $5 with DraftKings Pick 6. So here's the way Randy's going tonight. I'm going to go with Nolan Gorman to hit a home run again against the Buccos.
Love that.
They're going against Mladzinski, and he's hot. So I'm going to go with that. And then I think I'm going to do a little bit of pitching over under, and I'm going to go with some strikeouts. And I'm going to go with Oh, Max Fried going against Washington, over 6.5 strikeouts. That's free money from DraftKings Pick 6, where the crown is yours. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use that code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to get your $25 in bonus picks with your first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, the big news came yesterday after we were done with the show. The Flash, apparently official from Kansas City, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, Trailer, are engaged.
Trailer, I like that. Okay.
Yeah, Trailer. And then if they live in a park, it would be a trailer park.
Oh,
there we go. So
what a moment.
So I want you to weigh in on the chat here. Did your feelings about Taylor Swift change when she showed up on the New Heights podcast? Because she even said, okay, your demographic doesn't really like me to be on their screens. And so they won't like this show because I'm going to be on their screens. Now that you know that she's kind of a fun, smart person, are you more amenable to her being a part of the sports realm? I never had a problem with Taylor Swift, and people said, oh, they're showing her on TV all the time. Well, you know, when they show her on TV, there's nothing happening on the football field. They aren't showing her during plays. So you might have missed out on a huddle or something like that. So that, to me, that wasn't a big deal. I'm a fan, and I think it's good for her, but it's also good for the National Football League. And I think that she will bring more people under the sports umbrella, even more now that they're going to get married than there have ever been before.
Absolutely. I think the way that her fandom is, and again, if you don't understand the fandom for Taylor Swift, just look at how many times that you've commented in the chat on this show. And then you can maybe kind of compartmentalize and be like, oh, that's why they all freak out about Taylor Swift so much, because they don't have the St. Louis Cardinals to be apoplectic about little things for, so they have Taylor Swift instead. Yeah, I think it's fun. I think I've heard plenty of stories of friends of mine's little cousins, because I don't have a lot of friends whose daughters are like 9 or 10 yet, but I have friends who have little cousins who are 9 or 10 who are like, would never been involved in football, but now they hear about Taylor Swift, and so they ask their dad if they can watch football with them. Maybe it doesn't last. Maybe it's not a material thing. I think it's lovely. There's nothing negative about it, in my opinion.
No, I agree with you. And a lot of people say they don't care, and that's fine. I mean, a lot of people aren't into the pop there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I don't care about, or I don't even pay attention to.
Again, walk through your day today and ask how many people in your day care about Andre Pallante's pitch selection, and then ask them how many care about Taylor Swift in any way, shape, or form. I have a feeling which one's going to win. And so for people to be like, I could care less about her. I don't get why people care about her. You gotta think it. You gotta put yourself in somebody else's shoes.
And I've said it here before. If you're on the Facebook, go to the page, the Lauren Murphy, Lauren, Lauren Murphy recovery page. She's a St. Louis woman, hit by a car, tragic accident that almost took her life, and she's been in recovery ever since. And while she was in a coma in a hospital, I believe it was in LA, but it might have been in Charlotte, Taylor Swift, without a posse, just shows up to visit her, and her family is there, and apparently she was very nice. There's a photo and everything. And she didn't have to do that. She heard about Lauren Murphy getting injured and just showed up to lend her support. And I think that's typical. She's done a lot of that stuff over the years, and I think that's a good thing to know about her, that she's Taylor Swift seems to be a caring type person.
Graham says, I care. Why the F is he throwing so many four-seamers? He actually threw a higher percentage of knuckle, curve, and sinker last night than he had in his previous, I want to say 3 starts. He really went away. He really got to his breaking pitches. The problem is, none of his breaking pitches are breaking right now. Sorry. Cole Bass's left foot. Before the podcast, she's everywhere. After the podcast, she's exactly where she belongs. Dropping wisdom, roasting Travis, and casually breaking Guinness records. I like that. That's a good one.
Break a lot of records.
Russell Einhart Jr. Once Kelsey retires, I'm assuming all those fans will stop following the team and not care. Yeah, but the point is that there will be plenty of fans who never would have watched football, who do watch football, and because football is beautiful and outside of the NFL, perfect as a sport, people will fall in love with it, and people will have relationships with football and sports that they never would have had without her, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And I think Travis Kelce is going to be he's going to be around. You're going to see him on television shows. You're going to see him in movies, just like Jason now. On all the commercials that his brother is on. Travis will have the same sort of visibility, I would think, that his brother has. And Taylor isn't going anywhere either. So from a football standpoint, would you be surprised if Travis Kelce is not doing football for somebody when he retires?
I don't know if he has the analyst hat that Jason has. I think he's a little bit too he's almost too.
Are you calling him a lunkhead?
No, because he doesn't even have the Gronk part of it too. He's Gronk can kind of robotify himself to fit into Fox. I think Travis is too freewheeling, to the point where I don't even think he ever fits on TV and outside of doing the podcast stuff. He's a great podcast host alongside Jason. The funny thing here is everyone now is becoming a huge Travis Kelce fan and a fan of the Kelces, which is weird for me because I have been, in a very unhealthy way, obsessed with Jason Kelce his entire football career. There's something about a 290-pound center in a zone blocking scheme that I've been obsessed with. I've loved Jason Kelce from the word go with the Philadelphia Eagles. I've been obsessed with him. I've been a huge fan of his. I love the fact that he's now a big deal because I get to appreciate Jason Kelce. Everyone else gets to appreciate Travis and Taylor. I love that Jason Kelce is a big deal now. He's my favorite.
The center that he appreciates is Jason Kelce. The center that I appreciate is Jason Brown. Who went out and started a farm.
Because
he's helping feed people.
He had a contract where he was supposed to stay as a 300-pound mauler at center for a team that was going to run the ball, and instead he thought him and Jacob Bell were like, what if we go on radical fad diets and drop to 230 pounds? We can play guard at 230 pounds, right? No, you can't. It's unsuccessful. It doesn't work. The fact, they actually put money in. I can't get into this.
Okay.
They actually put money into the offensive line.
I know.
And both players were complete flops. It hurts so much.
Hunter asks, Randy, if you were a betting man, what are the odds that the Chiefs end up in Kansas? I think that once Mike Kehoe got involved and got the money from Missouri for the Chiefs, I think they'll stay in Missouri.
Yeah. That's we were talking about earlier with the Cardinals getting some of that money because the Cardinals are going to stay in downtown St. Louis. Chiefs are going to stay in Kansas City. I like this. Travis a wild card like Charlie and Sonny and Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's a hilarious episode. If you guys don't know it, go back and watch some of the early seasons of Philadelphia. That is the gang tries to sell gas episode, I believe is the name of the episode.
Lex Luthor points out that Mike Florio still thinks the NFL will expand to 40 franchises. From what I'm hearing from the people, by the way, like a lot of you, I didn't realize until the other day that I've been blocked on Twitter by Kevin Demoff, but I'm proud of it. But anyway,
I don't think I was not blocked because when he did that virtue signaling on Dov Kleiman on Monday, the same day that Wilson wore Cooper Kupp jersey into this studio. Unbelievable. I was able to see that tweet from Demoff.
Okay. So yeah,
call him a lying
I got
piece
that because somebody subtweeted it or something like that.
Nice.
Anyway, I still have some people around ownership that will talk to me. And from what I understand, the owners are very happy with only having to share their revenues, their national TV revenues, with 31 other teams. Here's the thing that happens. They've kind of saturated the market. Whether it's 32 teams or 38 teams or 40 or 42, they aren't going to get much more from television than they aren't going to get any more from television in America than they're already getting. They have saturated the market. They're cleaning up. And a franchise in a market like St. Louis or Portland or whatever is not going to get them any more TV money. And these guys, they're greedy, as you know. They're scoundrels, as you know. and they don't want to share their revenues with 2 or 4 or 6, or in this case, 8 other owners and franchises. So that's why it's my understanding that the owners are very happy from a revenue standpoint and a getting rich standpoint with having 32 teams. Then the other thing they really like is the ease of schedule, the logic of the schedule with 32 teams. Matthew just used the word perfect to apply to football. I would say, even though we hate the business of the NFL, the way they have it set up is perfect. I don't think that the NFL could be set up, unless they had a team in St. Louis, any better than it is right now in terms of number of teams, number of players. Obviously, the quality of the product isn't going to get any better because of their safety issues, but they don't practice as much. So the quality of the product isn't going to get much better. But in terms of the way they execute the product on a day-to-day basis, pretty darn good.
I really got mad at myself when last night, right before going to bed, I was like, I'm not ready to go to bed. I need to read a little bit before I really get tired. And I came across a training camp breakdown of all 32 teams. Randy, I had so much damn fun reading that thing. Oh, yeah. I hated it. There were parts where I was like, I hate myself. I shouldn't like reading about the Jacksonville Jaguars preseason this much, but I'm enthralled right now, going through team by team. That's why the NFL is king, and I hate that it is. But God, football's a perfect sport. It's a perfect sport. I can't get over it. Like, it will always be right up there. Yeah, it's a perfect sport.
Lex Luthor, I would be shocked to my core if they don't expand prior to 2040.
Oh God, yeah.
Well, I think if they do expand, it's going to be internationally, where they can make a lot more money.
I just don't know how that works.
I don't either.
Okay, let's say this. They expand internationally. Let's say it happens in 2030. In
2030.
Thank you. In 2055, are those teams still in international cities, or have they been relocated, or have they been contracted or relocated stateside because players didn't want to sign with those teams and they're never good?
I would say, if they would ever do that and they didn't work out, what cities in America are you going to? I mean, you're not going to get
Portland, like San Antonio.
See, but does that add more eyes? San Antonio already gets awesome ratings for the Cowboys. St. Louis already gets awesome ratings. You aren't going to get more viewers than you already get. The number one show in America is Sunday Night Football. The number two show in America every year is the 325 slot of the NFL.
Could they go with an AFC team in Chicago?
Again, I don't think that that's going to enhance the money that they're generating from the networks and all of the streaming platforms.
Because you're just cutting into the pie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's whether it's the Bears or the Chicago Staleys.
I like that.
Right. It's not going to make any difference at all to the TV networks because they've already got Chicago.
Yeah.
The ratings are already there, and they've got Bears fans all over the country. I just don't see a scenario in which the NFL expands.
That's completely fair. There's got to be something there because they have to find a way to get more money. You know, again, this is the expanding the season, expanding the playoffs. That adds money. And so to expand, they have to add a lot more money because, again, why would the owners agree to it? Because, again, it cuts into their proportion.
But
so find me a way to add a bunch of money, and I'll find you more NFL teams.
And the way to expand inventory for them is to add more games, not more teams.
Exactly.
So,
but you can't really. I mean, they're going to be inventoried out, right? Like, you can't 18 in the playoffs where they're at right now. You can't get any more football games in.
No. That'll do it. But you've got the SEC.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have college football, which is going to keep adding games like crazy. Speaking of college football,
we've got Howard Richards and Kerry Davis joining Claibs for full kickoff coverage of college football and a deep dive into Mizzou and the Fighting Illini right here on STL Sports Central.
Last thing before we go, Drinkwitz laid out his plans on Tiger Talk last night. First half, second half for Pribula and Horn. The reason he laid it out is he doesn't like doing even two series because he doesn't think they can get into enough of a of a vibe going that way. I'm not sure why he doesn't like quarter to quarter. He didn't really break that down, but he's going half and half. Bo Prabula gets the first half. Sam Horn gets the second half.
Just like
so
Brady
it
Cook and
seems
Sam Horn a couple of years ago.
like 2023, but I will give a little bit of benefit of the doubt. There does seem to be a little difference in that when he's talking about this, he one of the things he throws out there is that each player will kind of be able to dictate how the team plays in that half. So the thing is that Sam Horn didn't get to run the real Mizzou offense.
He only threw 6 passes in.
Exactly, in the second half 2 years ago. So let's accept the premise that he's putting out that they are both going to get to run the offense fully. Even with that said, does it being the first half, second half, can you get 2023 out of your head, or does this feel like this battle isn't as real as we thought maybe a week ago?
Feels to me like the battle is already won by Bo Prabula. He's a starter. He's going to be with the starting offense. I mean, you aren't keeping that starting offensive line in the game for the second half, are you?
I mean, you don't want to leave Kevin Coleman out there to get, decleated by some freshman defensive back trying to make a name for himself.
Right. So, and that's fine.
You don't want Caden Green getting,
chopped, right?
Yeah, or trying to go for a chop and getting, getting a penalty for it or something like that, getting suspended or something like that. So like, there's a lot of things you don't want to risk in the second half when you're blowing out a team 34-5.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Claves, Howard Richards, Kerry Davis coming up here on STL Sports Central, the Randy Karraker Show with Matthew Rocchio Wilson getting us on the air. And of course, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. We will see you tomorrow morning at 10:04. Have a great day, everybody.